Power Rangers SPD premiered 20 years later today, it pretty much changed a lot for Power Rangers, predicting 2025 of what the future is going to end up looking like based on like some fantasy TV shows. But to me, I look at SPD as like a cop show, but with Power Rangers style in it, right? But I think SPD for the most part is very underrated, despite some callous explosions that a lot of us cannot stand. But the action and the story and the writing was really good. There were some issues with the voice acting when it comes to the ADR room. I mean, it's aimed towards kids, and I get it though. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what can you do? But we're talking about SPD, why I believe it is one of the most underrated shows and underrated seasons out there. You know, besides Ninja Storm and Dino Thunder, but SPD pretty much changed the game because of a lot of iconic moments, such as the Shadow Ranger story arc, when he lost his planet, he lost his people to Grum and his minions, and he pretty much vowed to never fight again. But it came down to his multi-part focus episode where he was crashing out on the Rangers because he thought they were making fun of him, they were laughing at him, and yeah, Jack pretty much stood up to him because Doggy Kruger was just crashing out for no reason, because I think for the most part we all knew what this whole thing was about, because he wanted to, you know, keep fighting the justice, right? So yeah, once he became a Ranger, it was game over, you know. But there are some memorable Rangers for me on the side, like Jack being the good Ranger up until the final episode where he wanted to retire being a Ranger and focus on his personal life. And Sky went from being a misogynistic Blue Ranger to being the most cool Blue Ranger ever, up until he became the Red Ranger in the finale. And Bridge, just being Bridge, funny as ever, funny as F, buttery toast. What can you do? And in my opinion, I don't know how I feel about Z and Sid, because they did have some cool moments, you know, from their background story. But I don't know nothing about, you know, Sid, the Pink Ranger. But Z, she had an interesting backstory, because when she was young, she was teased because she had magical powers or whatever.
To change.
You know, she could duplicate anything. And when Commander Kruger Commander gave her that necklace, she kind of realized that it was him all along.
You gotta go through us.
When he was explaining to them about gifts that they have, now that they're Rangers, you know, you can only use it for good, not to show around and abuse that power, right? So I think the Rangers in that show kind of come off as spoiled brats when Shadow was trying to teach them ways of being good heroes without being, you know, dickish, you know what I'm saying? So for me, the story is pretty much well driven, because we're now in 2025 and this is the year that everybody is talking about SPD, you know, and once and always predicted it. We all wanted to see what the APA looked like, even though Adam and Aisha cameoed it wearing the uniforms, because we thought that they were working for SPD, but it was something different. Maybe in the future when we do get like a 20, well, maybe like an anniversary special of SPD, we'll probably get to see like Adam and Aisha working for them and just get something different, something to do, give them some new powers or whatever. It depends on when we'll do it. But yeah, Grum was probably the weakest villain in my opinion. Villains in SPD might be the weakest ones, because it was just monster of the day, new villains, introduce new allies, robots, and the Rangers destroy them one by one, just like that. Nothing going on. That was probably my biggest red flags is the villains. But yeah, I mean, SPD was not perfect, but it is an underrated season with so many iconic moments. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on Power Rangers 20 years later. And what are your thoughts on this? Did you grow up with SPD? Let me know in the chat.